I already said because people should protect those who are weaker than them. Once again, claim that I'm stipulating. If you disagree and don't think those who are stronger should use that to protect those who are less strong, then I guess this doesn't follow. But I think that's a pretty strong intuition that most people hold.
Let's make sure that you hold this intuition then, okay?
Yeah.
So would you consider like a 13-year-old boy to be a child?
Yes.
Okay. Do you agree with me that 13-year-old boys can be about as strong as an average woman?
Sure. I would depend. I'm not sure.
So should 13-year-old boys give up their seats on the lifeboat for women?
Maybe it's a case-by-case dependent basis. I think you should try to save women and children. Because
should the 13-year-old give up their spot in the lifeboat for a 70-year-old woman?
No, because I think there's a longer lifespan. Wait, Andrew, this is what you did.
Yeah, here we go.
No, this is what you did. I'm gonna explain what you did. You took one categorization that I made and general prescription.
Yeah, I'm sorry, it's not consistent,
that
bro.
those who are stronger should generally protect those who are weaker. That's what I said. And you were saying, so in every single case where there's someone who's stronger, they should protect someone who's weaker overriding
you didn't
consideration?
say generally.
Did I not say generally?
No, you actually
sure?
just said that stronger people should protect weaker people.
Okay, then I meant that in the general sense. I'm sorry for not specifying.
So generally speaking then, men are going to be disadvantaged in society under your view.
I don't think they're going to be disadvantaged because they have the advantage of more strength. So them using that strength to protect others.
Yeah, but you're prescribing a duty. You haven't actually told me why it is. So for instance, do you agree that men and women's lives are equally valuable?
Equally valuable? Yeah.
Okay, then why the fuck would you say that they should give up their spots in the lifeboat because they're stronger?
Equally valuable, because I think if we're talking about a boat sinking, I think most men would probably be better able to swim longer, be able to survive
in the icy fucking waters of the fucking... Are you serious? The icy waters of the Atlantic Ocean, they're going to have a better fighting chance against the sharks?
Wait.
Like, what are you talking... What?
Wait, hold on. Andrew,
come on, bro,
dude,
this is fucking crazy.
No, there were Andrew. Are you not agreeing with me? Who do you think would survive longer in the icy water?
I think you're talking about seconds or minutes, perhaps.
Okay, and if there were rescue boats going by?
There's not rescue boats. There wasn't rescue boats going by,
well, I'm
bro.
glad we're not in that situation anymore.
Yeah, but I am asking you about that situation. You said they should give up their spots on the Titanic. The women get the lifeboats because the men are stronger, even though their lives are both equally valuable. Yes. Why?
I think that some men should do that. Absolutely.
Why?
Why? Because you should want to protect those who are weaker than you.
Why though? If it's just a matter of you saying because you're stronger, then you switch. What you're doing is switching your case use here, which is fucking. It's equivocation. It's pissing me off because it's not even genuine. You're making the equivocal case that wait a second. Right? Men generally are stronger than women, so therefore should protect them because generally stronger people should protect weaker people.
Yes.
Okay, that follows in that aspect. You're a bit stronger, right?
Yes.
You have some sort of like duty or obligation to protect those weaker than you. But when you're in a situation like the fucking Titanic, right, where your strength differential doesn't fucking matter at all, right? You still prescribe that the women get the lifeboats, bro. And I need you to tell me why.
Why should they get the lifeboats? I think I am then expressing an intuition based on that case that is based on the fact that men are generally stronger than women. So maybe in
How
this
is
case,
that helpful?
Hold on. Maybe in this case, then they shouldn't because this case doesn't involve strength or anything like that. So in this case, then maybe not. In the Titanic, in that case, then yeah, maybe not.
Okay, so you're retracting that?
I'll
Okay, so you're going to retract that.
For women. I'll retract the claim for they should give it up for women. Maybe not children, though, because children would have a longer lifespan ahead of them. And men and women's lives, I would agree, are roughly equal. But, you can argue that children's lives, many people would consider them more valuable because they have a longer life to live.
Okay, so then men don't have an obligation to sacrifice their lives for women.
No.
Okay.
I don't think necessarily.
Got it. They don't have...
I don't think each individual man. I think society has an obligation to protect those who are weaker, but I think that no individual person should be compelled to risk or like...
Well, I didn't say compelled.
Life.
I asked about duty. That wouldn't be like a foreign compellence.
No, I don't think men have that duty. No.
They don't have that duty.
Men in general, no. Those who are stronger, not to die for other people necessarily.
So you don't think that there's a social obligation inside of society which shames men if they don't protect women who are physically weaker than them?
I think there is. But the thing is also I think a man is much less likely to die than a woman in those situations.
Yeah, so what?
So then it's much
But he's
less likely.
much more likely to be shamed for not interjecting himself in the situation, which would mean that he actually would be more likely to die than
And
the
I think
women.
it's because he's stronger.
Yeah, but that actually would increase his risk of death over women.
All right, Andrew.
And the average man would increase the risk of death if they're interjecting more than women. Yeah.
Okay. Sure. What's your point?
Is that correct?
Yes. What's your point?
Okay, so then you're assisting with a bias against men.
No.
With the social shame of men. Do you think that men, because they're the stronger sex, should interject on the behalf of people who are weaker than them?
If they are stronger.
If they're strong, and on
Yes.
average, they're going to be.
Yes.
Then what you're doing is interjecting them into significant amounts of danger over the weaker sex.
It's not on the basis that they're men. It's on the basis that they're stronger.
Yes,
So
but
it
the
would
bias
apply-
selection's still
so
gonna
it
apply
would-
to men.
Fine. So it would apply. So are you endorsing disparate impact theory here? I'm just really
What is
confused here.
disparate impact theory?
The idea that if something overwhelmingly affects a group, then therefore it ought to be considered like, I guess, prejudice or harm against that group. So, for example, if a policy was passed and it overwhelmingly disproportionately affected a racial minority or any minority, regardless of the intent
No,
of the
I
bill.
wouldn't endorse that, but what I will say is this.
Well, this is a type of
No,
disparate
it's
impact.
not. Here's why. Here's the distinction, right? Do you agree with me that people can hide their true intentions towards a thing, right, by kind of equivocating based on their intention? So, for instance, if I said, "Look, okay, this isn't a bias against midgets, but I just think that people who are 3 feet and below shouldn't work in Hollywood," right?
Okay.
I'm not biased against midgets, though. Right, I'm universally applying that standard to all people, but who does it disproportionately affect the
Yeah,
most?
it does affect them. But the
Now,
question-
hang on. If
What's the-
I
what's
now
the
hang on,
purpose?
now hang on. Now, if I held a bias, a secret bias against midgets, I really fucking hated them. Right? Would that be a really good way for me to enact my will, my hatred towards those midgets by making that universal claim that all people 3 feet and under shouldn't work in Hollywood?
Sure, but Andrew,
But what?
what would the benefit be of banning those people from
I would
working
just
in
say
Hollywood?
things like they can't get hurt as easy.
Can't get hurt.
Yeah,
as
people who
easily?
are 5 feet and or above, they don't get hurt as easy as people who are 3 feet and below.
Then I think
especially when you're on Hollywood
If
sets
you were-
and things like that.
If you were making then standards that were, I mean, we have this. Do you think it's prejudicial?
It would universally apply to all people.
Okay, then do you think it's prejudicial that we hate children because we have
What
height,
I'm saying,
because we have height limitations on rides at roller coasters?
So hang on.
Is that prejudice
I'm not
against
making
them?
the claim that you can't make even universalized prescriptions based on safety. I'm asking a specific and narrow question, which is that if I hated midgets, would it not then follow that if I was making prescriptions, right, that seemingly on their face were a bit absurd, seemingly a bit on their face absurd, right, but did universalize them by saying it's for all people, but the inaction of that really was going to disproportionately affect midgets, that it might stand to reason that I had some bias against midgets? Do you think hang on, I'm just saying this is conditional. Let me look at the camera too. It's just as conditional. But don't you think that if I passed legislation which was disproportionately affect only one group, right? But I was doing it as a universal claim for all, right? That people might think my motivations were to try to like disproportionately affect that group. Don't you think that follows?
It could be, but it's not necessarily. I don't think we think men should...
Isn't it interesting, though, that you endorse feminism while at the same time having a bias against men because they're stronger?
I don't have a bias against men.
Sure sounds like you do.
I don't. I think that those... I already said this. I think those who are stronger, regardless of sex, should protect those who are weaker.
Yeah, but again, here's the problem. When you claim that I'm a feminist, right, which you have, and that you're here to defend feminism... Isn't it interesting that part of this, kind of like a prescription for society based around feminism is that it just so happens that men need to, of course you don't mean men, you just mean stronger people, but men have to interject and put themselves in harm's way more than women do, and you happen to be a feminist. You don't think people are going to put two and two together and think that, well, perhaps you have a bit of bias towards men?
Bias towards men or biased against men?
Yeah.
No, I don't necessarily think that follows at all.
Okay, why not?
Because I don't think that it means that you hate someone if you think that because
I didn't say hate. Did I say hate or
fine,
bias?
Fine, Andrew. I don't think that you're
You
biased.
can fine Andrew,
I don't,
but
I don't think that you're biased against someone or a group of people if you think because they have advantages, they should use them to the less well off.
Okay.
Do you think it would do you think that like taxing the wealthy is like a bias against rich people? That,
I think it can be.
So, but do you think it necessarily is?
I never said anything about
Okay,
any
so
of this being necessarily the case.
Okay, so
Did I?
it's
Hang
not,
on. I just
it's not
wanna make sure.
necessarily. Fine. Okay.
Yeah.
I agree.
And what I said was that people can hide the motivation. And I do think, by the way, using this example of the wealthy, that oftentimes progressives do fucking hate the wealthy and blame them for problems inside of society because they think they're selfish and want to punish them. They want to punish them.
Some people might do that. I'm not denying that they're going to do that.
And so,
I'm not saying.
the thing is,
I think,
like,
fine. Then I am in full agreement with you that wanting to punish people is a bad reason for doing that.
So what
I am
reward?
Fully agreeing.
Okay, so for this duty that is going to disproportionately affect men, but isn't meant to target men, just people who are stronger. What do they get out of this?
What do they get out? I don't think that duties necessitate rewards. For example, I don't think we should reward people for like using their strength to benefit others. I just think that's something that you ought to do. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, you shouldn't beat your wife. It's like, I didn't beat my wife today. You should give me more money. It's like, of course not.
Isn't a draft duty which necessarily benefits others based on strength?
I don't agree with the draft because it's compulsory.
Yeah, so is this duty, though. It's compulsory, right? People ought do it, you said? Isn't that a compulsion?
Sure. I'm not, 100%. I'm not, but that's a legal compulsion. I'm not saying that there shouldn't be general societal like pushes towards certain things, but I don't think it should be legally compelled in which you go to jail or are killed for not joining the draft. But yeah, absolutely. I think that if society is on the brink of collapse or something like that, those who are stronger should step up and try to defend that.
And what would the equal female duty to this be?
There's not an equal female duty. And I've had this before. You had the same conversation. There is not a equal female. There's not equal duty for those who would typically be associated with weaker. Is there any duty that women have at all? Yeah, I think so. Same duties that men would have in terms of kindness towards others, being respectful towards others.
Those aren't duties.
Wanting to lift people up. I think it is.
No, it's not a duty to be kind and respectful. We've been disrespectful this whole time. Where's your kindness and duty?
Wait, I think people should be... Okay, Andrew, I'm sorry that I wasn't specific enough in saying that you should be generally kind. I don't think that
generally.
Hold on, Andrew, fine.
Come on, dude.
Wait. When I say people have a duty to be kind, what you interpreted that as incorrectly is you have to be kind all the time, which is not true.
Okay, so you just generally think people should be kind.
I think being kind in general is a good thing.
Yeah, but the strong
you should be a kind person.
The strong ought to protect the weak.
Sure.
Ought.
Are they always protecting the weak?
No, but you think they always should.
If that situation arises. Yes.
So that would be always.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's a monolithic statement for an ought, but it's interesting how you move between the monolithic situation of your ought when it comes to that. But with the second we get to women, suddenly they don't have any of those monolithic oughts. That's very strange. What monolithic ought do women have?
They don't because they're not stronger than men. Like what situation?
What other monolithic? Well, there's one thing they can do men can't.
Sure,
what is
reproduce, Andrew.
How come that's not a monolithic ought?
Because they should not have to have children.
Why?
Because we can have a society where people voluntarily have children without forcing them to do so. We can increase
have a society where men don't voluntarily assist anybody with their strength. What do you mean?
We can have a society where no one voluntarily does that, but I think we can always use incentive structures to get to that.
Yeah, but you said that they ought. If you agree with me that there can be a society in which men are not interceding on behalf of the weaker sex, in this case women or children, right? Why ought they do that?
Why ought they do what?
Why ought they do that?
Protect women and children?
If women have no compellence for duties for anything, they ought to do.
So hold on. I don't think that you should protect other people because you think you're owed something in return. That's the biggest problem here. I don't think men should protect women because like, oh my God, I saved you. Now you have to bear my children. I don't think that's how these things work.
Nobody made that conflation that because you saved a woman, they now have to have your children.
Well, you're saying there's a duty.
What I'm saying,
I saved your life, therefore women in general have an obligation to have children.
On the monolithic ought, I'm even willing to be super charitable here and say that you didn't mean every single time, but like in most cases, it is the case that men are stronger than women, and so it should intercede on their behalf, right?
Sure.
Right? That would be pretty charitable of me to say, right?
Largely.
Okay, so then if it's the case that women are the only ones who can have children, right? I want you to grant me the same charitability and say, you know what? I'm not saying that all of them ought to have children, okay? But we should make a prescription that they should be moving towards the idea of having children, that's really good for society prescriptively, and that generally speaking, they have a duty to do it.
I think it's a good thing when people have children, including
women. So generally speaking, women have a duty to have children.
I think that society has an obligation to keep its population growing.
So generally speaking, do women
and
have a duty to have children?
Yeah, men and women alike.
Okay, great. So then women, generally at least, have a duty to have kids.
I think that individual women are not subject to this because, Andrew, we can have
Oh my God, you keep changing your position. I'm going to have a smoke while Brian lets chat.
right.
Fucking, it's like a tube of toothpaste.